Hello and welcome to G Fun Facts Online. Today we are going to dismantle a metaphor that we use every single day. We talk about the internet, our data, and our artificial intelligence living in the cloud. It sounds weightless, like a nebulous vapor floating above us, effortless and ephemeral. But the reality is that the cloud is not a vapor. It is a massive physical infrastructure made of steel, silicon, and concrete. It is humming with electricity. It is generating immense amounts of heat, and as we are finding out, it is incredibly thirsty. As the race for artificial intelligence accelerates, we are running headlong into a conflict between exponential technological growth and the conservation of the most basic resource required for life: fresh water. This is the story of the hidden environmental costs of AI, or what we are calling the AI water crisis. To understand this crisis, we have to look away from the abstract billions and trillions of data points and look at the cost of a single interaction. When you open a tool like ChatGPT or Gemini and you type in a prompt, maybe you are asking it to draft an email or summarize a meeting. That feels like a digital exchange of bits and bytes. However, researchers at the University of California, Riverside, have crunched the numbers on the physical toll of that interaction. They estimated that a simple conversation with a chatbot, which they define as roughly 20 to 50 questions and answers, consumes about 500 milliliters of water. That is a standard plastic water bottle, effectively drunk by the data center to cool the servers that are processing your request. Now, a single bottle of water for a conversation might seem negligible, but you have to do the math on a global scale. There are billions of users engaging with AI every single day. When you scale that single bottle up, the footprint expands exponentially. For instance, looking just at the training phase of these models, it is estimated that training GPT-3 alone consumed 700,000 liters of fresh water. To put that in perspective, that is enough water to produce roughly 370 BMWs, or 320 Tesla vehicles. This usage is reflected in the corporate water footprints of the biggest tech companies in the world. In 2022, Microsoft reported that their global water consumption spiked by 34%, reaching nearly 6.4 billion liters, or 1.7 billion gallons. In that same period, Google saw their water usage rise by 20%. Future projections suggest that by 2027, global AI demand could drive water withdrawal to between 4.2 and 6.6 billion cubic meters annually. That is more than the total annual water withdrawal of half of the United Kingdom, or the entire nation of Denmark. So why does artificial intelligence need so much water? Why are these data centers so thirsty? The answer lies in thermodynamics. Data centers are essentially massive heaters. You have thousands of servers packed tightly into racks, processing complex algorithms 24 hours a day. This generates immense thermal energy. If you do not remove that heat, the chips fail and the system melts down. To keep these systems operational, companies typically rely on evaporative cooling towers. You can think of this mechanism as being very similar to how sweating cools the human body. Water is evaporated to remove heat from the air. While this method is very energy efficient, it is incredibly water intensive. We need to distinguish here between two types of water usage. First, there is water consumption. This is water that is evaporated into the atmosphere through these cooling towers. That water is effectively lost to the immediate local watershed. It is gone. Second, there is water withdrawal. This is water that is taken from a source, like a river or an aquifer, used for cooling, and then returned to the source. However, even withdrawal has a cost. The returned water is often significantly warmer than the source it came from. This leads to something called thermal pollution. When you dump warm water back into a cool river, you can deoxygenate the waterway and kill aquatic life. This might all sound like abstract global statistics, but the abstraction falls away when you look at the specific communities that are on the front lines of this crisis. The conflict between big tech and local residents is becoming increasingly visible in water-stressed regions around the world. Let's look at Uruguay. In 2023, Uruguay faced its worst drought in 74 years. The situation in the capital, Montevideo, was dire. The government actually began mixing salty estuary water into the municipal supply just to keep water flowing. This left tap water undrinkable for pregnant women and people with health conditions. Right in the middle of this crisis, Google was planning a new data center in the area that would consume millions of liters of cool water daily. The public outcry was immediate and intense. Graffiti began appearing on walls across the capital reading, "No es sequía, es saqueo," which translates to, "This is not drought, it's pillage." The protests were so effective that they forced the Uruguayan government and Google to renegotiate. Eventually, the company proposed a smaller facility that would use air cooling technology instead of water. Moving to the United States, we see a similar tension in the Dallas, Oregon. This town, sitting in the shadow of the Cascade Mountains, has long been a haven for Google's server farms. But for years, the exact amount of water the company used was treated as a trade secret. When the city council voted to approve a new $28.5 million water deal for Google in 2021, Even the council members did not know the precise usage figures until weeks before the vote. It took a lawsuit by the Oregonian newspaper against the city to force transparency. The records revealed that Google's data centers in the town were consuming over 1 billion liters of water annually. They had nearly tripled their usage over 5 years, all while the region was suffering through a severe megadrought. We see this pattern again in Talavera de la Reina, Spain. Farmers there are watching their crops wither as the region faces chronic water shortages. Yet, Meta, the parent company of Facebook, has planned a data center there projected to consume over 600 million liters of potable water annually. For a local farmer who has lost 80 to 90% of their harvest to drought, seeing a tech giant secure access to millions of liters of water for cloud storage feels like a cruel irony. Recognizing the reputational and operational risk here, the tech giants have made ambitious promises. Microsoft, Google, and Meta have all pledged to be water positive by 2030. This implies that they intend to replenish more water than they consume. Their strategy relies on 3 pillars. First, replenishment projects, such as investing in wetlands restoration, removing invasive species that hog water, and fixing leaks in municipal pipes. Second, they are shifting to recycled water. They are moving from using potable drinking water to what is known as purple pipe water, which is treated wastewater safe for cooling, but not for drinking. Third, they are focusing on efficiency, using AI itself to optimize the cooling systems. For example, Google's DeepMind AI has been used to reduce the energy required for cooling by up to 40%. However, experts warn that the term water positive can be misleading, or even a form of greenwashing. The main issue is location mismatch. Water is a local resource, not a global one like carbon. If you save 1 million liters of water in a wet region like Ireland, that does absolutely nothing to help a drought-stricken community in Arizona or Chile. If a company consumes water in a desert but replenishes it in a rainforest, the net math might work on a spreadsheet, but the local ecosystem in the desert still suffers. Furthermore, there is a loophole regarding withdrawal. Companies often focus their reporting on consumption, which is evaporation, rather than withdrawal. But withdrawing massive amounts of water from a river, heating it up, and dumping it back in can be just as damaging to the environment as consuming it. The trajectory of AI growth suggests we cannot simply conserve our way out of this problem. We likely have to innovate our way out. There are paths forward. One of the most promising frontiers is liquid cooling. Instead of cooling the air around the servers, companies are experimenting with direct-to-chip cooling, or immersion cooling. This is where servers are submerged in non-conductive fluids. These fluids are far more efficient at moving heat than air is, which drastically reduces the need for water evaporation. Another solution involves geography, simply moving the workload. We have to ask, why train an AI model in Phoenix, Arizona in July? Data centers can be programmed to shift heavy, non-urgent workloads, like training a new model, to facilities in cooler climates or regions with abundant renewable energy and water, such as Scandinavia or Canada. Finally, regulation is catching up. The days of water usage being a trade secret are ending. The European Union and impending US legislation are moving toward requiring strict environmental impact assessments for new data centers. We are essentially at a crossroads. Artificial intelligence holds the potential to solve some of our greatest environmental challenges, from optimizing power grids to designing new materials for solar panels. Yet, if left unchecked, the physical infrastructure of AI threatens to exacerbate the very resource scarcity it hopes to solve. The water crisis is not a reason to halt technological progress, but it is a mandate to redesign it. We need to bring the cloud down to earth and ground it in the reality that our digital lives rely on a physical planet, one that is growing thirstier by the day. Thanks for listening to Fun Facts Online.